Sponsored by EA.
Hey everyone, it's AlluringSimmer here, and today we are building a room for the next Winx Club member. If you watched my previous video, my most recent Create a Sim, then you'll know exactly which fairy this is for, and that is Musa. Musa is the music fairy, so I tried to incorporate a lot of musical instruments and things that made sense for her personality into this room, as well as some elements that just matched her general color palette of her original room. This video is also part 2 of the Winx Club Moves In series, where in the first video we built a room for Tekna, and if you missed it, I'll have it linked in the description as well as have it up on the screen so you can check it out. We have a couple more fairies that we're going to be making rooms for and doing creative sims for, so be sure to tune into those once they're released, and make sure to watch the previous ones so that way you can be all caught up. Before we get into the build itself, I wanted to reiterate that I am part of the EA Creator Program, which means that you can use my code AlluringSimmer when purchasing any Sims 4 DLC or other EA titles that are legible on the EA app. You can also use my code when making purchases on thesims.com using my code AlluringSimmer. If you want to find out which titles are eligible other than the Sims 4 DLC and other Sims titles, then be sure to click the link in the description on my website where I have a list of all the EA titles that are eligible to use my code for. I receive a small commission when you do, and it helps support my channel. So, as I mentioned before, in this series, we are building a room for each of the Winx fairies. And for today, we're doing Musa, the musical fairy. And so I tried to base this more off of her actual room from the show, as opposed to the previous one where I kind of just used like elements of her personality, a little bit of elements from her actual room, but mainly just using the idea of the things that she's most interested in, as well as her color palette to design the room. I feel like taking these two different approaches with creating both the rooms helps me decide what I want to do for the rest of the rooms. So let me know in the comments down below. Do you prefer the first room where it was more based off just the character style and color palette, as well as like some things related to their personality? Or do you prefer this one where it's actually more of a recreation of the actual room with some changes here and there to make sense for what items I have available to us in The Sims? So when I was designing this room, I basically wanted to make sure that I included a bunch of musical elements, made it look similar to her room from the show, and also incorporate elements that I felt like matched her personality. So from what I've gathered from the show, Musa loves music, dancing, singing, playing instruments. It says her favorite instrument is the flute. We don't have a flute in the game, but I did try to include a lot of the other instruments that she had in her room, including the saxophone. She actually had like in a saxophone that wasn't in a display case, obviously, and it's actually very funny that we only recently got that item, so I was able to use it in the build, and it really matched the aesthetic of her room. I do want to mention that I feel like the hardest part of doing this is the fact that I'm trying to maintain like their personal style when creating these rooms and not really put too much of myself into it. And I know that might not make much sense, but basically I feel like normally with a build that I'm creating, I have all the control over what I'm doing with that build. I decide like what kind of room I want to create, what kind of aesthetic I want to do. I feel like this has challenged me to make sure that I'm making a room based off of these characters as opposed to just making a room that I think looks great. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think that this room is awful, but I think if I wasn't designing it for this specific sim, I probably would make quite a few changes. I do think that if I do end up using it in a let's play in the future, like if I do end up actually doing the series with all of the sims at the end, then I most likely will make some changes to the room. I do want to incorporate more custom content because I feel like I could make it one a little bit more accurate to their actual rooms, but also I think I can make it a little bit cuter. This is no shade, no tea to the items that we have in the game, but I do feel like there are some limitations when it comes to like swatches and certain styles. I feel like sometimes something will be the right style, but not the right shade that I need for this room, or it'll be the right color, but not the correct style. I do think that it's really fun though, trying to build something without using custom content, because it forces me to be a bit more creative and also use items that I don't normally use when creating the build. Overall, I'm having a lot of fun with this series and I can't wait to see how the rest of the builds turn out. I'm also very I'm also having a lot of fun like experimenting and kind of trying out different ways to do these builds, whether it be a complete recreation or more of just an interpretation of the original rooms. I feel like each room has its own like unique personality, and I feel like once we have the Sims like actually playing in these rooms, it'll make it feel a little bit more cozy because we'll be adding clutter and stuff that they, get throughout the playthrough, as well as just adding more details to make it more personal to The Sims. As we get closer to the end of this build, I did want to mention some other little announcements slash updates related to my content. If you guys didn't already know, I am also a Twitch streamer, and on my stream for the past, I want to say almost a year, I've been doing Sims for fashion shows. And what that means is basically I create some themes kind of similar to Dress to Impress vibes, where you will create 5 everyday outfits based off of the 5 themes that I choose. And usually it has some sort of theme. So we've done Christmas, we've done a spring theme, we've done Halloween, and I hope to do those again later on this year. But right now, our current fashion show is the Summer Strut fashion show, and if you would like to participate, there is still time to enter. I'm really hoping to get my Sims in by the end of this week if possible, even if we can get them in by any time before, I want to say the 18th at the latest, so that I'll have enough time to put everything together. I would greatly appreciate it. And how you can find the rules and the themes for this challenge is by going to my website, AlluringSimmer.com/runway. That's AlluringSimmer.com/runway. You'll see a flyer with all of the information, and I want to do something different for this fashion show. In the past, I've streamed the fashion show, and sometimes we run into technical difficulties or errors. Sometimes the Sims don't want to do exactly what you need them to do. But I thought for this fashion show, since I've been a lot more active on YouTube, I want to do it as a video instead. So what does that mean for you? In terms of entering the challenge, nothing changes. The way that you enter the challenge is, again, by creating a sim with 5 different everyday outfits following the themes that you can find on my website at AlluringSimmer.com/runway. Once you make those outfits following all the themes, you upload your sim to the gallery with the hashtag AlluringSummerStrut. And that is listed on the flyer as well. If you forget what it is, or maybe you need to make sure you have the correct spelling, then definitely look at the flyer because all the details are there. But the way that we would be doing it this time is I would get all the Sims in, record it while, either on stream, but most likely offline. And then I would curate a video for the fashion show, so it would be highly edited, a little bit more fun because we could take out all the nitty-gritty parts of doing the fashion show, like choosing the poses, having them walk down the runway, making sure no other Sims get up while I'm trying to do it. I think that would be a better way to kind of facilitate the fashion shows moving forward. But in order to still incorporate the people that want to tune into the streams, I will be doing a live watch party of the fashion show on my stream. The original date for the fashion show was June 21st, and that date is going to remain as our fashion show date. The time and the date are not going to change, but instead of us doing it live, I will have it pre-recorded and we will watch it together as a little watch party instead. So again, I'll have it linked in the description as well, so you guys will be able to participate if you'd like to. But I would really love to have my YouTube community participate as much as my Twitch community does. And I think it'd be really fun to see some of the Sims that you create and have more community involvement from the people who watch my YouTube content only. And I honestly think that's all for today's video. I really do hope that you guys enjoy this build. I feel like as I added more clutter and more items into the build, it all slowly started to come together. I will be honest that when I first started this build, I was a little bit nervous that it wasn't going to look amazing, because this one I was basing it more off of the original room, and I feel like there was not a lot of cohesiveness in terms of the color scheme. At least when I was trying to recreate it. I feel like the original room had a lot of colors that went well together, but finding swatches in the game that matched those colors was a little bit more difficult. But I do think it turned out really cute in the end. I tried to add items that weren't necessarily in the original build near the end to like make things, you know, go together and make everything a little bit more matchy, just so that it didn't just look like a mess of different items that just didn't make sense together. And then I also just threw in some like clutter and hobby items that I think would be nice for the sim to have when we're actually doing gameplay. There were parts of her room where she had a lot of books scattered throughout, so it seems like she's a bit of a reader as well, even though that's not like a major part of her personality since she's a music fairy. But I did try to incorporate a lot of books throughout the build to kind of match that vibe. And I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up and let me know what you think in the comments down below. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and make sure to use code AlluringSimmer when purchasing things from the EA app. Thanks for watching. Bye everyone.